A mysterious wave rises from the ocean, and everything in Seabrook is about to change. After 4 movies of zombies, werewolves, aliens, and vampires, Disney just dropped the biggest tease yet. Fans spotted something huge in the final moments of zombies for a swirling water funnel exploding from the ocean floor. It wasn't random, it was a warning. And if you're like the rest of us still holding your breath after Victor and Nova's love story, then brace yourself, because Zombies 5 might bring something no one expected. Mermaids. But not the friendly kind. These sea creatures could flip the entire monster world upside down. And here's the part no one saw coming. Zed and Addison might be coming back for one final chapter. Zombies 4 changed everything. For the first time, the focus wasn't on Zed and Addison, but on 2 new characters: Spectre, the passionate vampire, and Nova, the conflicted daywalker. Their chemistry lit up the screen, and just when it felt like we were stepping into a new era, Disney gave us a parting gift, a tease so massive it sent fans into a frenzy. That exploding funnel of water, it wasn't just a visual effect, it was the beginning of the next chapter. Fans are now convinced Zombies 5 will introduce mermaids. But don't picture singing Disney princesses. These mermaids could be secretive, territorial, even dangerous. Think about It Zombies 4 focused on harmony between vampires and daywalkers. It was about love and unity between 2 groups with a long history of mistrust. But what happens when a completely new species enters the mix? One that doesn't want to be part of the piece. That's where the real conflict begins. Here's what we know. In Zombies 3's animated epilogue, mermaids were quietly hinted at, barely noticeable, almost like an Easter egg. But Disney doesn't do anything by accident. That tease in the ocean at the end of Zombies 4, it connects directly back to that hint, meaning the writers had this planned for years. And that's not all. In multiple interviews, the cast hinted that the world of Seabrook is expanding literally. New locations, new monsters, and even new music styles are expected. If Zombies 5 takes us underwater, we could be looking at an entirely new kingdom with its own rules, its own magic, and its own politics. And guess what? Zed and Addison's story may not be over yet. While Milo Manheim and Meg Donnelly made it clear that they were stepping back to let the next generation shine, they never officially said they were done. In fact, in several interviews, both actors expressed how emotional it was to pass the torch, but they also left the door wide open. Addison even sings about a new beginning in the final musical number, not an ending. So what if Zed and Addison return not as the main couple, but as mentors, or even as protectors of Seabrook during this new threat? And there's another theory fans can't stop talking about. What if the mermaids aren't just a new monster group, but a hidden part of Addison's past? Think about it. Addison's powers have always been a little different. Her white hair, her connection to alien energy, her ability to lead and connect every group so far. What if that wasn't alien magic after all? What if it came from something deeper, something from the sea? The idea that Addison might have mermaid ancestry is wild, but it's not impossible. In a franchise full of hidden powers and secret legacies, Addison's story might not be finished. In fact, it might be just beginning. That could explain why Zed and Addison would return in Zombies 5. Not just to guide Victor and Nova, but to uncover a part of Addison's identity we never expected. And if the mermaids are coming, they might not be arriving as friends. They might see Addison as a threat, or worse, as one of their own who betrayed them. That kind of twist would shake everything we thought we knew about the franchise. But the emotional weight of Zombies 5 won't just come from a new monster group. It's going to come from the relationships we've already invested in. Victor and Nova have barely begun their journey, and introducing an entirely new conflict could tear them apart. Nova might feel threatened by the arrival of sea creatures. Victor, being a vampire, might see them as rivals. And if Zed and Addison return, it could create a divide between the past and the future. Imagine Victor feeling like he's being overshadowed, or Nova being tempted by a new mermaid character, who understands her loneliness in a way Victor doesn't. This isn't just about monsters anymore. It's about identity, loyalty, and the price of peace. That's why Zombies 5 has the potential to be the most intense film in this series. We're not just adding new characters. We're pushing the emotional stakes higher than ever before. And let's talk about the music for a second. Every Zombies movie has redefined its vibe with a new sound. Zombies 1 gave us pop rock. Zombies 2 brought in tribal beats with the werewolves. Zombies 3 went galactic with electronic rhythms. Zombies 4 introduced gothic and romantic tones for the vampires. So what could Zombies 5 do with mermaids? Fans are speculating we could get haunting underwater melodies, oceanic ballads, or even something inspired by deep-sea instruments. That means this film won't just look different, it'll feel different. Every song will likely carry the weight of mystery, danger, and longing. And maybe, just maybe, we'll get one final duet from Zed and Addison. One that feels like a goodbye, or a return. Let's take a deeper dive into what Zombies 5 could really look like. Because while the theories are fun, the clues left behind in Zombies 4 are far more deliberate than most fans realize. That final shot of the water funnel wasn't just a fun visual, it was the beginning of a massive story shift. The storm didn't come out of nowhere. It erupted just as Victor and Nova shared their defining moment, almost like a warning, a signal. Something beneath the ocean is watching. And now that vampires and daywalkers have found unity, that peace may be threatened by a force far older, far more mysterious, and definitely more dangerous. There's an eerie silence that lingers at the end of Zombies 4, a kind of breath being held. It's the kind of silence that only comes before the storm. And that storm, it's bringing mermaids. Not the kind you've seen in film. These creatures may have their own agendas, their own kingdoms, and a long memory. A memory of betrayal, possibly tied to Seabrook, possibly tied to Addison herself. Let's revisit Addison's arc for a moment, because it's been full of unanswered questions. In Zombies 3, we learned she had alien roots. But what if that wasn't the whole story? What if Addison's connection to otherworldly power is more complicated than anyone realized? Some fans believe that the alien storyline was a misdirected, that Addison's true power source was never from the stars, but from the sea. Her white hair, her emotional pull toward the unknown. Her sense of being different, even among the aliens, all of it could point to a hybrid identity. And if Zombies 5 explores that, it changes everything. Addison wouldn't just be the girl who brought everyone together. She'd be the key to a much deeper rift. One that's been sleeping beneath the surface, literally. A conflict between the land creatures and the sea dwellers. And if Addison is caught in the middle, that means her and Zed's return in Zombies 5 might be about more than nostalgia. They could be pulled back into the fight because the ocean remembers her, because she is part of whatever is waking up. Now let's talk about Victor and Nova. Because while the franchise is shifting focus to them, it's not just a handoff, it's a test. Victor is passionate, loyal, and brave. Nova is smart, skeptical, and guarded. Together, they make a powerful team, but they're also new to this world of complex politics and ancient rivalries. If the mermaids arrive in Zombies 5, they won't be looking to talk peace. They'll want control. And Victor, being a vampire, might see them as a direct threat to everything he just helped build. Imagine his frustration. He spent the entire fourth movie helping Nova break free of her fears, helping bring vampires and daywalkers together in. Now another group wants to rewrite the rules. That tension will push Victor to the edge. And Nova, she's never been fully comfortable in any group. She walks between worlds, part human, part vampire. Never fully either. If anyone could connect with the mermaids, it's her. But what if the mermaids try to manipulate her? What if they offer her a place where she finally feels like she belongs? That temptation could fracture the bond between Nova and Victor before it's even had time to grow. And what about the larger world of Seabrook? For 4 films, we've watched the town slowly expand its heart and accept new kinds of people lore, rather, new kinds of monsters. Zombies were feared until Zed proved his worth. Werewolves were mistrusted until Addison helped them find their truth. Aliens were misunderstood until the town embraced their story. Vampires and daywalkers learned to stop hiding. But each time, Seabrook was stretched to its limit. And with every new group, the piece got thinner, the foundation weaker. What happens when Seabrook is no longer enough? If the mermaids are truly coming, they won't be content with joining. They'll want to change the entire system. And they might not be peaceful. We're talking about creatures who live far below the surface, cut off from sunlight, disconnected from the daily world, with their own beliefs, powers, and fears. Maybe they blame the land monsters for something that happened long ago. Maybe they see Seabrook as a danger to the balance of the supernatural world. Whatever the reason, their arrival won't just be about showing up. It will be about reclaiming something. Maybe territory, maybe a throne, maybe revenge. All of this brings us back to Zed and Addison. Their journey has always been about unity, about love crossing boundaries and hearts breaking down walls. If they return, it won't just be as side characters. It'll be as symbols. But symbols don't always get to rest. Sometimes they're called back into battle. Zed, the eternal optimist, might be ready to believe the mermaids can be allies. He might try to build bridges the way he did with werewolves and aliens. But what if this time it doesn't work? What if Zed finally meets a force that doesn't want peace, that would test him in ways we've never seen? And Addison, caught between her possible heritage and her loyalty to Seabrook, might be forced to choose. Does she stand with the land monsters who raised her? Or does she explore the dark, dangerous truth of where she might actually come from? That inner conflict would make Addison's return not just emotional but essential. And Zed, he'd be right there, willing to follow her, protect her, or even fight her if it means saving what they love. Their love has survived everything. But will it survive this? There's also something bigger happening behind the scenes. Disney hasn't officially confirmed Zombies 5, but they've never been this loud with their clues. The cast is hinting, the music is hinting, the fans are screaming, and Disney loves to listen when the fandom is this loud. Milo and Meg have both said they feel their trilogy is complete, but they didn't say they're done. Freya, Sky, and Terry, who the new leads, are all in. Every piece of this puzzle points toward Zombies 5 being in active development. And it's not just about continuing the franchise. It's about elevating it. Zombies 5 won't just be another chapter. It could be a turning point, a shift from high school drama to mythic conflict, from friendly rivalries to ancient wars. And all of it would still keep the heart of the franchise alive. Love, friendship, music, and unity. But this time, unity won't come easy. This time, the ocean is rising, and something's coming with it. But even beyond the chaos that mermaids could bring, the emotional story at the heart of Zombies 5 is what's going to matter most. Disney knows its audience doesn't just care about new creatures, they care about characters. They care about what happens when love is tested, when friendships are challenged, and when identities are torn between two worlds. This franchise has always worked because every new layer of fantasy still centers on something real. Zed and Addison taught us that love can break stereotypes. Wyatt and Willa showed us the pain of being misunderstood. Espen and their alien crew proved that even the most advanced beings crave connection. Victor and Nova now represent a new kind of love, one that's still uncertain, still growing, still vulnerable. And that's exactly why Zombies 5 needs to turn up the pressure. If Victor and Nova are going to carry the future of this franchise, we need to see what happens when their bond is truly tested. Not just by external threats, but by internal fears. Because the biggest battles aren't always between monsters, they're within ourselves. Victor, as we saw in Zombies 4, wants to be more than just a vampire. He wants peace. He wants to be seen as someone who builds bridges, not bites necks. But vampires have a dark history, and the arrival of mermaids could reopen old wounds. What if vampires were involved in past conflicts with the ocean dwellers? What if Victor is blamed for something his ancestors did? He might find himself on the defensive again, trying to prove that he's different, trying to prove that he's better. But proving that could push him too far. He might become obsessed with being the perfect leader, the perfect partner. And in doing so, he could lose sight of what made him special in the first place. Meanwhile, Nova, who has always struggled to belong, might finally feel seen by someone from the sea. Maybe a young mermaid character who recognizes her as someone who walks between worlds. That connection might make her question everything. Her loyalty to Victor, her place in Seabrook, even her own identity. That's the kind of emotional storm that could tear a couple apart, even without a supernatural war brewing. And let's not forget the potential secrets buried under the surface and metaphorical. If Zombies 5 takes us underwater, there's bound to be a new mythology introduced. An entire mermaid civilization. Maybe a hidden kingdom, sealed off from the land for centuries. But what if that kingdom has a connection to Seabrook's founding? What if the town was built on sacred ground that was once claimed by the merfolk? That would explain the hostility. The sea creatures wouldn't just be new monsters. They'd be ancient rulers, returning to reclaim what was taken from them. That kind of twist changes everything. It reframes Seabrook not as a town that welcomes everyone, but as a place with a hidden history, one that may have stolen from others to build its peace. And if Addison's family was involved in that theft, her guilt could become the emotional core of the movie. Suddenly, her connection to the mermaids isn't just genetic, it's personal. And if the mermaids demand justice, Addison may have to choose between protecting Seabrook or righting a historic wrong. This is the kind of depth the Zombies universe has been building toward for years. It started with a football team accepting zombies. But now, it's moving into territory that explores legacy, forgiveness, and sacrifice. Imagine if Addison discovers that the only way to bring balance between the land and the sea is to give something up. Maybe even her place in Seabrook. Maybe she has to return to the sea to broker peace. That kind of ending would be heartbreaking but powerful. It would echo the theme of every zombies movie. Change is hard, but necessary. Peace is never easy. Love is always worth fighting for. And if Zed has to let her go for the greater good, it would mirror the emotional weight we've seen in classic Disney stories for generations. That's the kind of finale that would stay with fans for years. A moment of real loss, but also real growth. A new chapter that respects the past but boldly steps into the future. And we can't talk about Zombies 5 without imagining how the new music would capture all of this. Music has always been the emotional heartbeat of the franchise. Songs like Someday, Stand, and Ain't No Doubt About It didn't just sound good, they told the story. They gave voice to emotions that the characters couldn't say out loud. So what would the music of Zombies 5 sound like? Probably darker, more mysterious, with echoing melodies and oceanic textures. Maybe even a siren song that plays a role in the plot music that seduces, distracts, or even controls. And if there's one thing fans are begging for, it's a new duet between Zed and Addison. A song that reflects everything they've been through. One last performance to remind us why we fell in love with them in the first place. But also, new songs from Victor and Nova, ballads about identity, conflict, and the uncertainty of love. Maybe even a group number where the land monsters and mermaids confront each other in musical form. That kind of moment would define the entire film. All of these ideas might sound massive, and they are. But Disney has never been afraid of going big with this franchise. Each movie has expanded the world more than the last. And Zombies 5 has the potential to be the biggest yet. If Disney gives the green light, this won't just be another musical. It'll be a full-blown fantasy adventure with emotional stakes, moral dilemmas, and a brand new setting. It's not about adding more monsters for the sake of it. It's about pushing the story to its limits, testing the characters we love, and making us ask ourselves what really matters. Is peace worth the price? Is love stronger than destiny? And what happens when the past comes back, not just to haunt us, but to demand something in return? That's the real magic of this franchise. It's not just about singing and dancing. It's about growing up, about facing things that scare us, about finding where we belong, even when everything around us changes. And that's why Zombies 5 needs to happen. Not just because fans want it, not just because Disney teased it, but because this story isn't finished. There's more to tell, more to feel, and the sea. The sea still has secrets, and they're ready to rise.